Welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk Dog Business. So today we've got the amazing Charlie Day, who is going to delve into the world of sales. So today we have the amazing Charlie Day, who is a sales guru and an amazing energy and force to be reckoned with. So we would love to hear all about Charlie's story and how she became what she is, and we'll kind of basically take you on that journey with us today. So Charlie, over to you.
Hi, I don't think I've ever been called a guru before. I like it though. Can I take that and run with it?
Own it.
Yeah.
Own it. Run with it.
Yeah, I'm a guru.
So kind of tell us a bit about you. Where did you start? Who are you? Let our listeners know who you are.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Charlie Day, as they said. I'm a sales expert, whatever that might be, and guru, maybe. There's a running joke in my family. I've never had a real job. So I've always ran my own business. I started my first business when I was 21. I've built 3 businesses from the ground up. Did not have a clue when I started when I was 21, what I was doing, what running a business was all about. I don't know if it was like maybe my 21-year-old innocence or maybe a bit of arrogance. I don't know, but I just presumed. I opened a theatre school when I was 21. I just presumed that people would come flocking. I'd sort of worked out how many children lived in the area and like what the potential was. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be, amazing. This is going to be off the scale. And I opened it up the summer of 2011. I opened with like a holiday workshop in some holidays. And I worked so hard, like got my posters up, my flyers, like proper old school marketing. And I managed to get seven kids there. And I'd hired this big, massive hall with a stage. I'd hired costumes for them all to wear. I sort of thought I'd probably be full about 35. So I was going to cut off numbers at 35. But no, I ended up with 7. I wasn't even breaking even. I was just so embarrassed by the whole situation. I was like, what I'm going to do is I'll just do this workshop because obviously people have paid money and I've paid money. I'll do this workshop. And then at the end of the week, I'm just going to brush it all under the carpet and go off and do something else. I gave out a couple of free spaces to round it up to 10 because I was like promising that we were going to do a little show at the end of the week. And I did it. And of course, when you're new into the space, everybody who was good at singing and dancing already went to a theatre school. So I hadn't really thought about the fact that I was looking for people who wanted to sing and dance and who didn't already go to a theatre school or whatever. So the sort of children who came to me were people who were quite shy and didn't necessarily go to a theatre school already. And I was like, well, you're going to have a solo because we've got nobody else. And so they ended up having sort of these opportunities that they wouldn't have normally had. And what happened, we did a little show at the end, like this big, massive stage, tiny audience, because every child brought 1 or 2 people to come and see it. And literally every single parent was like, if you open up weekly classes, we're going to sign up right here. Mm-hmm. And I just, in that moment, was like, I've worked this hard to get in front of 7 people. I'm not going to let it go now. And I remember I made a promise to myself in that moment that I was just going to get really, really good at sales so that I could get more people in. And that's exactly what I did. So I grew my theatre school, still exists today. We have 500 children on a weekly basis who come to our theatre school. Then I launched a party business, which ran as an agency. And then I opened a business called Phonics with Robot Reg, which was preschool phonics classes. Me and my sister ran it together. And we franchised it, and we've got 54 franchises internationally. I was head of sales for the franchise part of the business. And over a period of time, people started asking me, gosh, how have you made so many sales? The newspaper picked up a story because I sold my 30th franchise on the same week as my 30th birthday. So it was like this big story, 30 before 30. And it did really well for us in just terms of visibility and stuff. And people were coming to me being like, can I take you out for lunch and can you tell me exactly what you've done? And I loved talking about sales. I claim sales is easy if you just know how. And I've always thought sales is super easy if you know what you're doing. And so I would go out for these lunches and coffees and tell people. And then it got a bit ridiculous because people were like, Charlie Days told me exactly what to do. Do you just need to take her out for lunch? And I was like, I've actually got a job that I need to do. And so I set up a Facebook group. I set up this Facebook group on the 2nd of March, 2020. It was called the Entrepreneurs Growth Club. It's now called Sales is Easy. And it went mad. Everybody was inviting their friends in. And then obviously 2 weeks later, we were in a lockdown and there was a global pandemic and people needed to pivot. And I just sort of found myself in this new role and people wanted advice and people wanted to pay to have my time over the internet. And I was just at home. And so Charlie Day Sales was born. And now I've got masterminds and group programs and courses, online courses, a massive membership. I've got the #1 female sales podcast. And yeah, it's just grown and grown and grown. And it doesn't even feel like a business because I just love it so much.
Oh, I love that. I love it. I love it.
Like I've gone on a bit there, so sorry. But that's my life story.
I love it. And I think in fact, there's a nice theme throughout that in that we've done it on another episode where we've been talking about how a lot of us almost fall into these businesses where you do it because you love something. And certainly from a dog professional point of view, we ran a poll recently in our Facebook group to see what was it that kind of drove you to be where you are now. And the highest reigning answer was because we love dogs. And then we're like, well, okay, so you've got that passion, but then you don't really realize you're in that business mindset. And our goal and mission, I suppose, is to try and get people to think more like they are running a business and getting people to think about actually you do need to be having conversations with your potential clients because they're the ones that are going to give you the money to be able to deliver the service that you ultimately want to do. And Vicky and I have always had this back and forth little heated debate on what is that whole process about. Like, you call it a booking process. I've never known it as a booking process. I'm just like, it's sales. Like, I'm selling a service. But ultimately, yeah, it's how you kind of bring that passion and that know-how or that lack of know-how to be able to fill your books, really, isn't it? So how did you then start the sales process then? How did you start even like talking to people? Or because I think a lot of our listeners are very much in I'm just going to send you an email with, and it's like a big long ream of, here's everything that I do, over to you, you make the decision. I'm just going to hide behind an email. It's not how we do it, but yeah, I'm curious as to find out how did you kind of figure out that journey and what is it you do now?
Yeah, so I wouldn't ever recommend sending out an email with just like loads of information on it, because I think there's, especially like, look, here we are in 2024, people want a more personalized approach than ever before. And of course, with the help of AI and technology, we can create personalized experiences for people without having to personalize every single experience. So like, there really is no excuse to not be giving people the personalization that they crave. For me, back in the theatre school, and when I work with my clients, right, this is what I would say. So you know exactly what you do. So let's imagine you're a dog trainer. And also, I should have told you this prior to you booking me. I know nothing about dogs. One of my clients is actually in the dog world, and she always laughs at me because I always give the like imaginary dogs really human names. She's like, I wouldn't even call their dog that, Charlie. Anyway, I'll do an example of a dog trainer, but if I get anything wrong, you'd be like, yeah, no, that's not. So we know I'm a dog trainer. I'm trying to get in front of an audience of dog owners because that is who I'm going to sell to. I'm a dog trainer as well. So I want that audience to be people who need to train their dogs. It's people who, aren't really confident. Then it's not going to be other trainers, for example. So getting really clear on who that specific person is that you want to get in front of, and then thinking, okay, well, where do they hang out? Where can I find them? Is it, at the local vets? Is it my dog walkers? Is it the kennels that they can go to? Where can I find big groups of people that are my ideal client who I know are going to need to train their dogs? And how can I get then into conversations with people who are that ideal client? And so back in the day when I ran my theatre school, it was schools. That's who I was wanting to get in front of. I was wanting to get in front of schools to do workshops and assemblies in front of the children, to get the children on side and then send them home with a letter so that they would book, basically. Now, schools are the most terrifying people to sell to, because they're not checking any emails. And if you go in and try and talk to anybody, you're getting a gatekeeper. And so what I started to do, 21-year-old Charlie, no experience in sales whatsoever, is I picked up the phone and I called and I asked to speak to the head of department or the head teacher or the deputy head or whoever. And it was really, really scary. And it was massively out of my comfort zone. And I used to draw 10 circles on a piece of paper and I used to cross them off every time. I would get a no. A no was a cross. And if I got all the way through my chart, then I could have my coffee. I'm obsessed with coffee. So the morning coffee was only, and I used to call it going for the no, because most people would say no. And so like, that was I'm like, okay, I've got some drama. No, not interested. Okay, brilliant. Hi, no, not interested. Okay. And then eventually you'd get one person be like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, that sounds really good actually. And you're like,
taken aback. They said yes.
But because I did that like mindset shift of I was going for the no, it wasn't like, oh my God, somebody said no, because ultimately people will say no. In my business now, most of my sales are done through direct messages. So on Instagram, on Facebook, in the emails, and I am reaching out, I'm having conversations with people all of the time on a very basic level. Conversations equal sales. So the more conversations you have, the more sales you'll make. But I get ghosted. I get people messaging me saying, I'm not interested. But I also get people saying, tell me more. Can we hop on a call? I want to buy. So you've got to have a certain amount of no's. But I think most people are so scared of rejection that they just avoid sales completely. And I find it particularly with female business owners. They're very reluctant to sell, to the point where they actually don't sell. And so one question I'd love to throw out there for your audience is, are you actually even selling? Or are you just telling people what's available? Because there's a difference.
Yeah, and something we hear a lot is, well, how do you have time to have conversations with people? This is something that comes up, isn't it? So like an online booking process just takes all of that away for them, and they just go, well, you just do it. You sort it out yourself. Like, we can just sit here and concentrate in the business.
Yeah, like doing the delivery. So I'm either out and I'm walking the dogs, or I'm training the dogs, or I'm grooming the dogs.
Have got time for that booking thing. Like, that's what they'll say.
And brilliant, like, great. If that is you, if you can put a booking link out there and you get fully booked, well, great. You don't need to watch this, really, do you?
Tell me how you do that.
Yeah. If they come streaming in, great. Which they invariably they don't.
Part, we're not just putting a link out there and people are just automatically booking in. If you think about yourself as a consumer, would you do that to your dog? Would you just book your dog in for a groom that you'd never spoken to the person who runs that place, or for a dog walk with somebody you had no connection with? You probably wouldn't, because I'm imagining, and again, it is an imagine, that people's dogs are like their pride and joy, and that they don't want to just palm them off with whoever. And so it's, how do you build that relationship up? How do you get people to know, like, and trust you so that they want to bring their dog? Because there's loads of different trainers that they can use. Why are they going to use you? Well, they're going to use you because you are the person who's going to sell it the best. Because we know that other dog trainers aren't doing the things to sell it. They're just putting their booking link out there. But if you decide that I'm going to be the person who sells it, uses persuasive language, builds know, like, and trust up on my social media, follows up with people, tells people why they should buy right now, gives them compelling time-bound reasons to sign up. If you do all of that stuff, knowing that the rest of the people in the industry don't do that stuff, you're going to separate yourself out from the crowd. And what happens when you separate yourself out from the crowd, this is where the magic happens, is that you become in the top 2% of salespeople, which pushes you up to the top percentage in your industry, so that actually you don't have any competition anymore, because you're getting booked out and people know about you, people are recommending you. The sales do then start flooding in because you are doing things that other people aren't prepared to make those sales. And that's what I'm passionate about. I spend an hour every single day, 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. every single day, doing personal outreach and follow-up. I do not know a single other person in my industry who does that. Started in May 2022. I did it for a month for a challenge, had the best month ever, made a ridiculous amount of sales, and then I basically couldn't stop, and I've never stopped since. And again, that's something that I do that separates myself out from the crowd. And people say to me, how have you grown so quickly? And like, I'm on target to turn over £1 million this year. I've only been open for like 3.5 years. That's a crazy amount of growth. And people say to me all the time, how have you had that growth? And singly put it down to the fact that I am prepared to do things that other people won't, to get the results that other people don't.
Yeah.
So what would you say to people that might say, sales is sleazy, why should I be pushing people into working with me? How would you answer those questions?
I would say it's not, and it doesn't need to be. I think there are people out there who are doing sales in a sleazy way, but I hate that. I'm not sleazy or pushy or anything. In fact, quite the opposite. I am like, if you don't want to work with me, that's absolutely fine. I don't want to work with anyone who doesn't want to work with me. Often, like, I'm selling my mastermind at the moment, and I do calls to see if they're the right person for me to invite in, you know, and I imagine it's the same if you're training dogs. I don't want to train some dodgy dog.
Dodgy dog, I love it. It's not the dog, it's the human.
It's the human. Yeah.
The human.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to have somebody who is annoying in my class. I want to make sure that actually I'm getting the right people, and the way that I'm going to do that is by putting out my vibe and my energy. Sales is an exchange of energy. So if you're putting yourself out there on social media, I suppose if they're dog trainers, they can do it in their local community. It doesn't need to just be an online thing. If you're putting yourself out there, then you're going to draw in the right people who want to work with you. But when I'm talking about personal outreach, it's funny because I get this all the time. People are like, oh, I would never possibly send a message. I get those messages and I hate them. And I'm like, what messages do you get? Oh, people telling me that I can fill your appointments. And I'm like, well, don't send messages that you don't like receiving, obviously. Yeah. But the perfect example, I was saying to some of my clients on Monday, how many messages have you got from people saying, Happy New Year, hope you had a wonderful Christmas? Like from your clients, from people you work with, just from members of your community. And everybody agreed that they hadn't got any messages like that. Meanwhile, I have been sending messages out like that every single day. And so many people come back with me, oh my gosh, Charlie, it's always you. You're so thoughtful. You always think of me. Is there any way I could get on a call with you? Because I definitely want to work with you in 2024. Because I'm having these conversations all the time, that sort of stuff happens to me all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. I have also been ghosted. I've also had people message me back, Happy New Year. Nothing else. Not everything has led to a sales conversation, but what has definitely happened, where I've sent out over 100 messages to people now, that person who's received that message has had my name in their head because they have received that message. And if we take it back to the simplest form, that conversations equal sales, I know I'm going to make some sales through sending out those messages. They don't need to be pushy or sleazy. In fact, they shouldn't be.
No.
Connect with people.
Yeah, that's no. And I love that. And I think you touched on something that's really nice there by having the conversations with people and doing that whole being being your unapologetic self, you get to put you across, and then you get to attract the right person for you. But likewise, you also have that ability to say, I'm sorry, no, you're not the right person. You're not the right person to work with me, because I think that's the one thing that I certainly found when I first started in this about 10 years ago now. When I was emailing people just a list of my services, and it'd literally be like, oh, hi, I'm interested. My dog needs training. Here's a little bit about the problem. What are your fees? And I'd email them back with this is why you should work with me, blah, 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 blah. Here's all of the services, which was a ream in itself. You go and pick. But I had no idea about the person, and I knew I could kind of work with the dog based on what they'd said. But then as time has gone on, I was like, well, no, we're working with the human. We're not working with the dog for the most part of it. So if you don't get on with that person, you're going to completely screw yourself over. And and the only way you can do that is by having a conversation with them. You get to both qualify and disqualify, which I think is super important.
Yes. Yeah, it should be a mutual decision, shouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's similar to when we were selling phonics, because that's obviously the parent and the preschooler coming. And I would ask questions about the preschooler in the same way, ask questions about the dog. How old's the dog? What's the dog's name? What type of breed is it? Why do you want to come to our sessions? The more informed you are about that situation, the easier it's going to be to close it down. Like if you know, I don't know, the dog's got anxiety and they're struggling to get it out, and the whole reason they bought the dog was because they wanted to go on walks, boom, they've got a really compelling reason to buy. So the more asking questions and listening, they're the most important things when it comes to sales. So many people get that wrong. If you think about like classic car sales guy, and I think this is where the sleazy, icky thing comes from, is like just someone talking at you and telling you exactly what you should buy. And it's like, you haven't understood my wants and needs with this at all. Asking questions is vital for the sales process.
Yeah. And actually, we have conversations, obviously, with everybody that works with us. And the biggest takeaway, even if they don't work with us, is they go, thanks so much for that. Thanks for chatting to me. Thanks for letting me get all these things off my chest that are real big deals to them. You know, sometimes it affects their whole life and their family life and everything, like if the dog isn't behaving how they want it to. So, like, they go away, like you said earlier, they have you in their head, even though they go, well, you might be a bit too expensive, or we can't put the time commitment in. We've had a brilliant experience. So that is memorable for them.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are likely going to refer you then.
Yeah, exactly. They may come back and buy later. That happens to me all the time. I had someone the other day, sales call from ages ago, just booked to buy the other day. So they may come back and buy, or like you're saying, they may refer you on because they've had a good experience, even if you weren't the right fit for them at that time.
Absolutely. In the early days, when you got a lot of rejection, how did you learn how to deal with that resilience? Are you just a very determined person anyway, or did you have sort of help with that, or how did that come about? You're laughing.
I love the face.
For those that are listening, she's pulling her face.
I am definitely not a very resilient person who was just like, oh, that's water off a duck's back. No, not the situation, especially not 21-year-old Charlie. Especially when people like want to leave my theatre school and stuff. I was like, no, please don't go. It's hard. It's really, really hard. I have definitely gotten more resilient, and the online world that I now find myself in forces you to be resilient because it's a lot more, I want to say public, but I guess when you're behind a keyboard, you say things a bit more bluntly than you would if it's a parent saying like, thank you so much for the past year. Arabella's loved theatre school, but now we're leaving. When you get emails, and, you know, I've had several things happen to me on the internet that have been less than complimentary, usually not with people who've actually worked with me, but just random members of the internet, because that is the way that it is. And I think I've always said to my husband, you've got to know what you're signing up for. I can't be like my Facebook ad got trolled like really badly. And I just am at a place now where I'm like, it doesn't even really affect me. A while ago, I was in the Daily Mail with my little boy, picture of me and my little boy. And there was some like dreadful comments about my little boy. And I was like, that's just so sad. Like I can deal with myself. But so like I have had it all. But I was very aware going into the online space that I am opening myself up. If I'm going to put things about me and my life on the internet, I am opening myself up for that. I have worked with a coach to break through those barriers. I always say I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I think that held me back massively. And if I sort of link this into sales as well, and female business owners struggling with sales, especially compared to our male counterparts. And like, I love men, I'm here for them. My husband's in sales, he works in corporate for sales. So we have like great chats and stuff. But just taking it back, when I was growing up, certainly it's like the boys were pushed to the front. They were told to go out there and do the things, while the little girls needed to be quiet and sit down. So it's not really that totally unbelievable that now the men are leading the industry. I mean, if I go to some of the sales events, I'm the only woman in the room. It's crazy because we don't have that confidence to go, I'm going to get knocked down. I'm going to get pushed back. That's okay. I'm not just going to sit there and people please. I'm going to do things differently. And so I have had to work on that a lot. And certainly in the early days, I mean, tears, wanting to close my business down, believing that I wasn't good enough. All of those things have been true for me. And I'm such a geek. Over the Christmas holidays, we were researching female UK billionaires compared to male UK billionaires. And you can imagine the results are just crazy. And I'm just like, we've got to change things. And if that on a very basic level is just me telling, maybe you put a message out there and it's a bit pushy. Maybe you put a post out there and it's a bit pushy, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Because at the end of the day, you love dogs and you love what you're doing and you're just doing it for that. You're not a con artist. You're not doing anything weird. I would prefer you to put it out there and it be a little bit pushy than you not put it out there at all.
It's so true. It's so true. And I love that. And you can really hear like the passion in it. It's something that we are so passionate about as well, as like put that message out there, own it, and just have conversations with people. So we were just saying then about how you kind of fall into this like loving your business, not necessarily thinking like you're a business owner, you thinking about how is it a failure to go and ask for help and not necessarily, just knowing where to go with it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, why would we know all of the answers? It's like you start school and you know everything. I know I certainly didn't know the answers when I started a business. I didn't know a single other business owner. My mum and dad just had normal jobs. I didn't know anybody who ran their own business. And in fact, my parents thought I was crazy for running my own business. Like, there's a lot of risk involved there.
Oh, yes.
And I think to myself now, if I could have known when I was 21 what I knew now, I would have flown. I would have grown a lot faster because actually by being surrounded by other business owners that are out there, and that's part of the reason why I researched the billionaires, because I wanted to get in my head, like, who are the richest, most successful female business owners in the UK. Who are those people? I don't even know. And actually, if I want to get to the next step, the best way to do that is surround myself with people who are already at the next step. Not suggesting that the billionaire is the next step. Of course, it steps up, but
no, I like
that's that's the reason that I'm part of masterminds and things like that, because when like my last mastermind I was in, there's 20 people and they've all got their own unique journeys to get to where they are. And they all know different things. And I see it as like mini shortcuts. I'm like, right, tell me what you know. I'll tell you what I know. You tell me what you know. And we all find the shortcuts out. And I think the people who don't invest in those things, and there's huge groups of people like, I would never pay that amount of money. I would never pay that. And they're not getting the shortcuts. They're not getting there quicker, because actually one of the things I want to do this year is set up a sales agency. So the first thing that comes into mind, who already runs a successful sales agency who I can learn from? Who's got trainings about sales agencies that I can learn from? Who already does that thing? And I don't think enough people do that. Why wouldn't you? Like, go and read the books, do the courses, learn the things. You will get there quicker if you do.
Yeah, so I love that. And this is where you and I are very different. So I've been in kind of business world. So my background was in corporate. I was in ad agency doing like director work and stuff. And then I did a complete tangent and went and left to go play with dogs. So, but I've always looked at it from the business side. And from that first year of listening to everybody in industry, that when you were saying like surround yourself with people that are going to know more and do better. And for me personally, my experience was everybody in this industry isn't doing what I want to be doing. I've got to go elsewhere. So I started investing in masterminds and sales training and all of this kind of stuff, and fully immersed myself in that world. And then went and hit like that registered within 9 months, because I just immersed myself in it that much. I was like, oh my God, I love it. This is everything that I want to be doing. But I was very clear on where I wanted to be with it. And I think it's really important to go, do you know what, you may not necessarily want to be striving for these 6, 7, 8 figures like the billionaires. Although we are going to come and join that club with you. We are in. But even if you just want to turn over and, you know, a nice full-time wage, doing what you love, having the hours that you want, you can almost pick and choose the lifestyle that you want and pick and choose the bits of information that you need. So it doesn't have to be an exact replica of these £1 million dollar turnover companies. It can be those that, do you know what, if you're taking 50k home and you're happy and you're only working 4 hours a week, I'd be hard pressed to find someone that wouldn't be happy with that kind of lifestyle, doing what you love. But then you've kind of come into this. I've dragged you in a little bit.
She's dragged me in, and I love it. I'm so, how different a person am I from 2 years ago?
Oh my God, Charlie, you should have seen her. Like,
I was hard work.
I'd sit there, be like, right, pick up the phone, have a conversation, and she's like, what? How much am I going to be charging this for? No one's going to want to buy that. I need to offer 1 million services and be applicable to everybody and make sure that the whole world can buy from me. And I was like, no. Strip it back.
But the place where I was, and a lot of people are, is this world that we've just been talking about is not industry specific. So it's not relatable. And so I would never have, like we were saying this just before we were going to have this conversation with you, there's so many amazing people that I would have just gone, well, why would I listen to that person? Because that's nothing to do with what I do. Like you're in my eyes, I'd have seen you or somebody like you as like you're a corporate like somebody who works with corporate people. And sales to me is like, it's all corporate, and it's like a million miles away from what I do, because I work with animals. Like I work with dogs. And so dogs are dogs, and we love dogs. And that conversation we were having about everybody goes into it predominantly for loving dogs. You don't see it the same way, because your heart is there, which it always should be in whatever business you do, shouldn't it? You should always love what you do, but it kind of pulls you in a little bit more than I think a lot of other industries, and you just kind of dismiss these things and go, business stuff? Like, I don't need that at all. Yeah. And since knowing Joe and being immersed in all of this, I'm like, oh my gosh, the people we've met and the industries they're in, they're maybe not completely comparable, but they're such amazing connections to make, and that they might know someone who knows somebody that needs their dog's training, or like they might know somebody who wants to become a dog trainer and we can help them with that. So like it's all just so good to network with people as well.
I think as well that can become a bit of a excuse. And I know that it's something that I relied on in the past. Like I said, my husband, he works in corporate, he runs a sales team in corporate. And that was probably why I recognized that sales was sort of what I need to focus on early doors. Although I'm saying that now, I was only 21, don't know. Anyway, the point is that I would always say to him that, yeah, it's not really relevant for me. That's not relevant. Yeah, no, wouldn't work for me. And now looking back, it was just an excuse because I was too scared to grow. And what I say to everybody who I work with is, let's start with the end in mind, because not everybody wants the lifestyle that I have. Not everybody wants to work the hours that I work. Some people want to work more hours. I have Fridays off. Every single Friday I have off. Some people want to work just the school hours and work it around their child, whereas I work every single day till 5:30. So you've got to make sure that this business works for you, because that's the whole reason you set it up, right? And if you want to be a dog trainer who runs 2 sessions a week and is sold out, then go and do that. You don't need to be like anybody else. Go and do that. Be the best that you can possibly be doing that. Be sold out. If you want to run a dog trainer that's franchised, go and do that. Or if you want to set up a dog training thing and then sell it and then move on to another business, go and do that. You get to decide how this pans out. But don't let sales be the reason that it's not panning out, because actually sales is something you can sort out quite easily.
Yeah, no. And again, I love that, because again, I think everything kind of changes, doesn't it? You kind of go into this and like you say, for some people, hearing the fact that you're looking at billionaires and everything, some people could go, what? I'm not even making like 25k a year. It's like, it's so far away
removed,
from what it just doesn't even interest me. Whereas you saying that to me, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally with you on this. I'm going to go and do it in the break. Because
I was like, what even is
£1
£1 billion? At the beginning of this conversation that I had, what even is £1 billion? I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the first time I wrote down 1 million, I was like, that is a lot of noughts.
Yeah.
That's more noughts than my brain can comprehend. But when I came into this business, the best year I've ever had, I'd earned £40,000. And at that time, I thought that was brilliant. I thought that I had done really, really well. And I had, right? Because I'd never had a real job. I haven't come from corporate. So to build a job where you're getting paid £40,000 a year by yourself is awesome. That's phenomenal. But actually, I always knew that I wanted so much more than that. And for me, it's not about the money. I talk about money because I want to normalize money, especially again, for female business owners. Let's talk about money. Let's normalize it. It's okay to earn loads of money and take loads of money and spend loads of money and all the things that we do. But it's actually not why I do what I do. It's not why I want to turn over £1 million. It's not why I want to sell a company for £10 million. I do that because I want to show other, particularly female business owners, what is possible when you lift the glass ceiling and get to the other side, which I've been through that whole journey of earning. I mean, the first 18 months of the theatre school, I didn't make a profit. Not one single penny did I make. Who would continue with a business like that apart from somebody insane?
I don't know. I think a lot of business owners are like
I think
that.
there's a lot, certainly in this industry, there is a lot. So we see it in Facebook groups a lot where they go, I've either fallen out of love with the business, I'm not even making enough as a full-time wage, I'm booked out, but I'm not making anything from it.
I might go and get a job in Tesco's because it would be easier. Like, we hear that a lot.
And it's whole. So for us, we know certainly in this industry, everybody invests a hell of a lot of money into dog knowledge, essentially. So all of the CPD, all of your academic learning. And we're like, hold on one second. I think actually for at least 1 year, stop doing that, because you've got enough of it. They're lifelong courses. They're all online nowadays. And invest it into something that is going to help you build and grow the business that you want. And again, we're trying to normalize it. So business you are a business owner. You are, but like you said, when you open the theatre school, you kind of end up just working for yourself, doing the thing that you enjoy. And I genuinely think that's where a lot of people in this industry see themselves. And we're like, well, if you just change that mindset a wee bit, like shift it over here, then you can start to actually deliver the work that you want to be doing in a much better, more profitable way, so that you can help more people because you're earning more from it. And it's not a dirty thing to earn money from what you're doing. It's always how you can just use it to better yourself, better the lives of others. And ultimately that is through having conversations, it is through making sales, and it is through connecting with everyone. But I think a lot of it as well does boil down to your mindset on everything as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you think is possible for you? Because ultimately, that's where your glass ceiling is at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
And back to that conversation about the sales versus booking process. Sales somebody who works with dogs, sales sounds like the dog is just a commodity. And so that kind of scares people away, I think, a lot of the time as well.
It's interesting because we don't agree on this at all. We're the polar opposite on this.
We all get into sales situations every single day.
Yeah.
You know, I love myself a little Costa coffee. Most days I get a Costa coffee. I know it's extravagant, but here we are. Here we are. I've moved house and I literally live around the corner from Costa drive-through. Oh, there they are again with their coffee trying to sell to me. How dare they? And it makes me laugh so much. You know, people are like, oh, I can't possibly put that out again today. I spoke about it yesterday. I'm like, Sainsbury's have got their bananas out this morning and they had them out yesterday and the day before. You know, could you imagine? You go in, oh, can I buy some bananas? Oh, we haven't put them out this morning because we didn't want to be too pushy. I just want to buy a banana. You know, you've got somebody on the internet, in person, whatever it is, looking to train their dog. They want to train their dog. And you have got dog training classes. If you don't get those classes out there and show this person who's looking for them, then actually you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, unless you're like literally throttling someone and saying, you've got to buy it, give me your money right now. It's just the world that we live in. You're a business owner. You're selling.
Joe's got a good phrase.
Oh, God.
Do you want to say your phrase?
I don't even know what my phrase is.
Fuck off and die.
Oh, yeah. No one is literally going to tell you if you're on the phone, if you're trying to sell to them, they are not going to turn around to you and say, will you just fuck off and die? It's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
And if they do,
that's what people are scared of.
Yeah, but if
I always say to people, unless somebody says to me on the internet, stop talking about that thing, Charlie, you've been going on and it's too much now and it's starting to encroach in my everyday life. Until I get that message from somebody saying that, I'm going to continue to put my offers out, put my stuff out and sell to people.
But at the end of the day, they can just unfollow, can't they?
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
So it's simple.
Yeah, and for some people, we do need to be bashed over the head a million times.
See it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly that. Oh, I love this. I could talk to you all day about this. It's definitely, I love it. I just love it. So what would you say then would be, maybe from a mindset shift, maybe from a sales point of view, I don't know, but where you kind of came from then in going into the theatre business and then, like you said, you were almost just working in it. You didn't necessarily see yourself as a business owner. What or when would you say the turning point for you was on that to go, actually, I do need to start doing something different now?
I think it was in this business, so in the last 3.5 years, that I have realised that I need to step into being a CEO, being a leader, telling people exactly what I want my company to look like. I have gotten to a level now where I can see that growth, that certainly at the theatre school, if you'd have said to me, you know, you're going to be taking home £250,000 a year, I would have been like, no, I will not. I will never be able to do that. That is not possible. Like, how would I? I couldn't see beyond. My aim at that point was to get 250 students per week. I thought I would have made it. You know, I don't know, it's probably on like 25 grand. Something that at the time seemed a lot for me and certainly for what I was doing, and I loved it, but I couldn't see what was possible. Now, when I went into franchising, and that was such a massive leap for me because I went from selling classes that were like £11 to a franchise that was £10,500. And so the shift there, like, how the hell am I going to get somebody to give me £10,000? Like, seriously? And then I obviously did, and continued to do so. And that was a real shift. And again, I could see real growth. I could see hundreds and thousands of pounds, but only to a point, right? Because we were managing all the franchises and there was still like a lot of legwork. But in this business, and certainly with my plans to develop and grow a sales agency, it's like the world is my oyster. but only if I let the world be my oyster. And I was my biggest stumbling block there. I needed to work on myself, on my own capacity, on my leadership skills. And again, being a recovering people pleaser, you can't run a team and be like, I can just do whatever you think. I'm not really sure, just as long as you're okay. You can't. You have to step into that leader role. And that's certainly something that, you know, more recently I've found hard. And it's like that saying they say, new level, new devil. And it's so true in my experience. But the one thing that I will say is the bigger my businesses have grown, the less I've worked. Yeah. And I think that anybody who's a dog trainer who's like, I don't have time to even follow up because I'm so in the business, it's because you're swapping time for money. It's because you've created a job for yourself. So if you want to grow and scale something that is profitable, just take a step back from that and see what the growth opportunities are for you.
Yeah, I love that. That can be like our top tip for the listeners then, like take that step back and really look at,
evaluate it all.
Yeah, what you want to do, where you want to go, because hitting pause isn't going to kill everything.
No. And that people pleaser thing, you've mentioned it a couple of times, is so
ingrained in everyone.
It is. Yeah. And it's, you don't want to turn anything away, and yet what you are getting, you just moan about, and it's not good quality and it's not aligning with your values, but you still take it because we want to help everybody, we want to please everybody. And then you come away going, oh God, that was horrendous, but nothing changes and you keep doing it. It's, yeah.
No, it's good. It's good. Okay, then, so to end with our show, then we're asking all of our guests this. Who do you think we should get on the podcast next to help our listeners keep growing their business from either a mindset, sales, money, any of it, to give them the life that they want, doing what they love?
Oh, gosh, that's hard. God. I could probably give you a few, but I'm going to go for my coach, Kim Rain. Do you know Kim Rain?
No, I don't think I've come across her.
So she is mindset, opportunity. She is also an ADHD coach, but I find a lot of business owners sort of have that sort of busy ADHD brain.
Yeah.
But she is so knowledgeable and so brilliant. She would be my recommendation for your show, and she would love to do it, I'm sure.
I love it. You'll have to connect us after this then.
I will do. That's such a good way of getting people on, though. I'm going to nick that.
Do it.
You should come on next, and can you connect it? And can you set it up for me? Take it one step further.
You're getting advice from us.
What? See, great sales skills.
Charlie, thank you so much for coming on. It's it will really help our listeners, we hope, and make them think slightly differently, because that's what we're trying to do: get diversity of guests on, and help them think a different way. So thank you so much.
I'm trying to think, what can I offer them? I have got 50 ways to get more leads. Amazing. I can send you that, and you could give it to your listeners for free. Yeah,
amazing. Love it. Yeah, we'll put all of the links in the show notes as well. So, and wewe'll put it all over social media. So we'll tag you in it as well, my love.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.